Okay, brand new tutorial series for the Plants vs. Zombies game. So this episode is just gonna go over rigging up your plants and zombies, and also the basic spawning mechanics and moving mechanics for the zombies. I also have a model in the description that you can use. It's the same one I'm using. It'll have everything already rigged up with animations in it. But we have two plants and two zombies, and then I'm going to show you how to rig up one of these. The plants, I'm not going to have a humanoid in them this time. I'm only going to have an animation controller, and then the zombies will have humanoids because I need to use the humanoid move to function. To start out with, I'll show you how to weld stuff and all that. Now, first thing to know when making your rigs is that you always need a humanoid root part. Now for starters, you could go in and add, what's it called? A motor 6, right? Yeah, a motor 60. You could do that manually for every single one, set the part 0, part 1. Or you could get this plugin, which is really useful, called Rig Edit. What Rig Edit allows you to do is it will allow you to select a part, select another part by holding Control and then clicking, and then you can create joints and welds, and you can also move them around. For example, we'll leave that one there, but this is where the torso will rotate and move from. So it's kind of like its origin. Also, you always branch out from the humanoid root part to the torso, or lower torso, upper torso. I just did that. And then also make sure you have your primary part set to the humanoid root part. Okay, when making a rig, you're gonna branch out starting from the center of your character, which is usually the torso. If you don't have a torso, that's fine. It's just whatever the center of your object you want it to be. So whatever object or whatever part you want your model to move from and to rotate and spin. So, and then once you have your center figured out, you're just gonna branch out from there. So you're gonna go from, in my case, torso to the lower torso, and then the upper torso, and then from the upper torso to the neck, and then the neck to the head, just like this. And then I also want this to rotate from right here. And then for welding, if you want, say, this outline right here on the leaf, if you just wanted to stick to the part, to the leaf right here, then you can just select that specific leaf, the back left one, find the circle, back left circle, and then create a weld, and it'll just weld it together. And then from the snout to, I think I named it the cannon. Yeah, right there. And I'll create a joint there. And then if I'm not mistaken, that should be about everything. Yep. Okay, and then once you're done rigging, and that's all there is to. But once you're done, you can go over to the avatar tab, and then there's this little animation tab right here. It's relatively new studio setup, so I'm still getting used to it. And you'll notice now you can rotate everything. Oh, one more thing, make sure that your rig, if it doesn't have a humanoid, that it at least has an animation controller. And then inside the animation controller, you can add an animator, and same with the humanoid, add an animator in that. And then you can go ahead and create your animations. I already have these all rigged up and animated. And then if you're gonna add, say, this cone onto the zombie, you can use the same plugin to weld it on. Just position it, put it inside the model. Make sure your models are unanchored. And then you can keep the collisions on for them. Now that I went over that, I'll go over the map stuff. So this is the map that comes with my current model. It's nothing special. If you're making your own map, I would recommend using the model and then just deleting everything inside these folders, except maybe the points. You can use those since they're just invisible squares. This is where your zombie's gonna spawn, and this is where it's going to stop. I also have a camera folder, and this is where the camera will start. It'll also pan over here to show all the zombies. And then I think for this tutorial, I'm going to make it to where you can swap between them, have a top-down view. That's not in the original game or anything, but it's just an idea I came up with. I also have this aesthetics folder, which is just visual stuff, the house and the road. Finally, all these tiles. You don't have to do anything special with them, you just grab your squares that you want to be able to place with and plop them in here. Once you have that done, I don't think this is inside the model. You can go ahead and add 2 folders into workspace. Label 1 plants and 1 zombie. And then inside replicated storage, you're going to add a few more folders. You can go ahead and just copy or duplicate this one. And then you can also add a remotes folder. And along with that, go ahead and add a modules folder. Inside starter GUI, we're going to add a local script, and you can just name this client side. We're not going to do too much scripting for this first episode, just easing into the tutorial really. I'll probably have another video out tomorrow, or the day after I post this one. I'll probably go straight to recording the next one after this. Okay, and then after you add this local script inside starter GUI, you can go ahead and add a normal script into server script service, and you can name this one server side. Finally, inside replicated storage, you are going to add a configuration and a module script. You can name this module script zombies. This is going to contain all the information on the zombies, such as, let me copy and paste it, such as the name, the walk animation, the idle animation, and the E animation, and then health, special stats, stuff like that. For right now, you just need these 3 variables: walk animation, idle animation, and E animation. And then if you already have your guys animated, you can paste those in here. A little something like that. And now inside your client side, we're going to add a couple of variables. For starters, we are going to reference replicated storage at the top here. And then we're going to go ahead and reference the remote folder just right here after that. And go ahead and also reference the zombies folder, the plant folder, and the module folder. We're going to be using all these inside the script, so it's better to reference them now, even if we don't use it in this video. And now we're going to add one more script into our game, and it's going to be inside this module folder right here. And it's going to be, like the name suggests, a module script. And you can just name this zombie controller. copy and paste the name and replace module right here. So it's going to say zombie controller. Now going back to our client-side script, which is the local script inside starter GUI, we're going to reference that right here. Zombie controller is equal to require module folder, wait for child, zombie controller. And then we're also going to add a remote event inside our remotes folder, and you can just name that spawn zombie. Local spawn zombie is equal to remote folder, wait for child, spawn zombie. Then a couple more variables, actually 3 to be specific. We're going to reference all 3 of these folders. Local current map is equal to workspace wait for child current map. And then I'll just duplicate this 3 times. And rename it to zombie folder and plant folder. And make sure it's the same name as these folders. And also, if you have your zombies in workspace right now, you can move those into the replicated storage folders labeled zombies and plants respectively. This is about what your replicated storage look like right now. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to say right here, see, change spawn zombie at the top to spawn zombie remote, and then we're going to reference that down here. So spawn zombie remote dot on client event, and then we'll connect that to a function, and then we're going to take the type of zombie, the row that we're going to spawn it in, and the map. First things first, local new zombie is equal to zombies find first child type, and then clone that. If the zombie doesn't exist, then you can just return end. If we don't have a row, then we're just going to get a random one. And then we'll just do one, oh actually, or if the map equal nil. At the top here you can put a variable called max rows, which is just going to be 5 for me. It depends how many rows you want to have, because some maps can have more rows and you can alter that with whatchamacallthems. Arguments, they're called arguments. Yep, the arguments that you pass through. Anyway, if there's no row, then we're going to set the row equal to math.random, because the row is just going to be a number. It's a number that's sent through to this function. So if we don't have a number, it's going to get a random number, and it's going to be between 1 and the max number of rows. And then after you set the row to a random number between 1 and 5, we'll do local spawn point is equal to map dot points, which we're going to send this folder right here in through this argument, which we are then going to reference right here, and we're going to get the points folder out of out of it. And then inside that, you'll notice every single point is equal, or you'll notice every single part inside here is either named spawn 1 through 5 or end 1 through 5. So since they all start with spawn right here, we're going to look for a part named spawn, and then we're going to add on that number right here. It's going to be 1 through 5, and then it'll just add that number onto here. So it's going to look for spawn 5, for example, which is going to return this. Now that we have our spawn point, we'll go and get the end point too. Then if not spawn, so if we don't have a spawn point, or if we don't have an end point, we'll just return end again. Then return end. And then assuming everything goes well and we do have our spawn point, our end point, and our zombie, and our map too, then what we'll do is we'll take the new zombie and we'll set its parent. So we're going to move it from where it's duplicated from, which is this folder right here, and we're going to move it all the way up into workspace and then into the zombies folder, which is going to bring it into the actual game. And then we're just going to, first things first actually, inside this extra tab right here, I don't know if this is for everyone or if you need to enable it somewhere, you can search it up. You're going to find collisions group, you're going to open that up, go to table view, and you're going to add a zombie table or a zombie group and a plants group. So what we're going to do in the script now is we're going to loop through every single part inside of your zombie, and it's very simple too. It's just a simple for loop. You're going to loop through the new zombie's descendants, which is going to be the zombie that we just spawned. And then you'll just check if it is a base part. And if it's a base part, you'll set its collision group to be zombies. I think it's labeled zombies. Yep. Plural, not singular. After that loop, you can set the primary part. And this is why it's important to make sure all your models, especially rigs, have a primary part, which these guys do. Okay. And then you can just set their C-frame, which is going to move the zombie to its spawn point. The C-frame is its position in the world and also its rotation in the world. We'll just set that to be the spawn point dot C-frame. And since we have the zombie controller already called, and then we'll go inside zombie controller, and then at the top we're going to go ahead and reference replicated storage, and also our zombie config, which is going to be replicated storage, wait for child, configuration, because remember that's the module script inside of our configuration right here. We'll reference that, and it's labeled zombies. And now we're going to add a new function into this module script. And if you don't have any experience with module scripts, I would watch, say, like Gnome Code's video on it. I'll have that linked, actually. It's a pretty good video. Module scripts are especially useful in Roblox scripting. So we're going to create this function called zombieController.move. This is going to be the function that we call to move the zombies from start to finish. And then we'll also require all the information that the zombie has in its configuration right now. So this is kind of like a list of everything the game needs to know about the zombie. Its health, its appearance, its, well, maybe not its appearance, but its animations, all the important stuff. So we're going to make sure that we're going to make sure that the zombie is inside this module script. So we'll just reference this, and then since a module script is basically a table, we're going to have the script look inside this table, which is the module script. They're one and the same. And we're going to look for the zombie.name. Once again, it's going to look inside this module script, which is equal to a table. Right, so we're going to look inside this table, and then we're going to look for the zombie name, which is right here. And we'll also have, might as well just put conehead zombie right here just for reference. And then go ahead and print the zombie information just so we can see it visually. And then if we don't have any information, then we'll just return end. Again, make sure your zombies or your enemies, whatever you want to use, has a humanoid in it, because that's what we're going to use to make it move. And we're going to reference that right here. We're going to look inside our zombie, and we're going to pull out its humanoid. We're going to set the walk animation to be nil, but if there is a walk animation inside of our zombie info, and it doesn't equal emptiness, then we'll go ahead and create a new instance.new animation, and we'll just go ahead and name that walk animation. We'll set its animation ID to be whatever the zombie info has it set as. And finally, we'll just go ahead and parent it to... We'll just parent it to a folder inside here. Name that animations. So you'll just set its parent to be replicated storage, wait for child configuration, which is going to be this right here, inside replicate storage. And then we're going to set it to the animations, this folder right here. And then walk animation, we're setting this variable we made right here. Actually, change this to just be animation. So the instance we created is just going to be animation. And then this variable right here that we're going to reference is going to be set to the zombie humanoid, and make sure that inside your humanoids and animation controllers you have an animator. So zombie humanoid.animator load animation. Animation. Now we'll go ahead and tell the zombie humanoid to move to the finish point. This is why it's important to have humanoid too. You could just manually move it by script, but I just think using the move to function is way easier. And then if walk animation, then walk animation play. Walk animation play end. Local reached is equal to zombie humanoid dot move to finished wait. And then just do the smallest time increment, which is 0.001. And then after that, for some reason, the move to function has almost like a 7-second time limit, and the way I found to counteract that is to just put a repeat right here. Zombie humanoid, move to finish point, wait, 0.001. Reached is equal to zombie humanoid dot move to finished, wait, 0.001. And then it's going to repeat this until we reached, or the zombie is equal to nil. Now back at the client side, we're going to reference that move function right here. And then we're going to send through our new zombie and endpoint, I believe. Yeah, the zombie and the finish point. And now one last thing before I wrap up this tutorial. We'll go ahead and reference replicated storage at the top of server-side script. Just to test things and make sure everything's working properly. We'll have to wait 5 seconds and then print spawning. And go ahead and fire this remote event right here. Spawn zombie, fire client. And we'll fire it for game.players. And then you can just type in your username. Zombie, comma zombie, comma nil, comma workspace dot current map. And the nil is just to make sure our randomizer is working. A workspace dot current map dot world one, or whatever you named your map. And just like that, it's spawned and it's moving. And then I guess I could go ahead and create an animation real quick to make sure that's working too. If you just grab the ID from the web page, you can paste it in an animation, and it should come up with this rbxassetid. Then you can just copy all of that. Just the walk animation done. Yeah, we'll just use the same one. And then why don't we also just go ahead and spawn the bucket head. Make sure that's working. Wait 3 seconds, and then we'll spawn 2 on row 2. Sorry, not bucket head, cone head. Yeah, okay, it spawned too. I wasn't sure for a second. I was wondering when the other one would spawn. Oh, and actually... when they do reach the end, we can just go ahead and put walk animation stop. Oh, okay. That's why. Okay. We're not gonna move to the finish point wait, we're gonna move to the finish point dot position. And then reached is gonna be move to wait. There we go. Animation stops. And same with you guys. So yeah, that's episode 1 for the new Plants vs. Zombies tutorial series completed. See you guys.